There are many conspiracy theories pertaining to hidden ancient relics which can be found upon our moon. Conspiracies plague not only the known visit to it, but also the possible past visitation by a now lost civilization. A number of studies, including some here upon our channel, have exposed not only theories, but valid proofs to support the hypothesis of ancient ruins not only being present on the moon, but ancient lunar ruins having actually been visited in secret operations by NASA and other space agencies. Not only aware of said sites, but accused of studying them in secret. However, a discovery has been made which has seemingly been a lot more difficult, apparently impossible to keep concealed. Thus, it has been exposed after having been discovered by a group of intellectuals at the Baylor University, featured within a study published in the journal Geophysical Research Letters. They combined data from NASA's Gravity Recovery and Interior Laboratory (GRAIL) and the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter (LRO), after finding a huge blob lurking over 100 miles beneath the South Pole Itken Basin. Imagine taking a pile of metal 5 times larger than the big island of Hawaii and burying it underground. That's roughly how much unexpected mass we detected, said Peter B. James, assistant professor of planetary geophysics at Baylor University. The basin near the bottom of our sole natural satellite is an oval-shaped crater several miles deep and up to 1,242 miles wide, the largest found upon the moon. Located upon the moon's far side, also known as the dark side, it never faces the Earth, permanently concealed from the world. It's an ideal place for future investigation by secretive agencies, as the far side would make an ideal location for any base development that one wished to keep hidden from the world. However, the metal object, which is of an incredible size, is yet to be identified, and if it has been found already by secret intelligence upon Earth, it has until now remained unmentioned and, as far as anyone knows, unstudied. One of the explanations of this extra mass is that the metal from the asteroid that formed the crater is still embedded in the moon's mantle, said James, adding that the crater is believed to be 4 billion years old, almost as old as Earth itself. This means that if this was indeed left by a craft, the beings who made it would now, if still in existence, be unimaginably more advanced than the modern man of Earth, and could, in all possibility, still be visiting our solar system. Was this crater created by a metallic craft? If so, who were these beings? Were they interdimensional or merely interstellar travelers? It is an anomaly, like many others within our solar system, which we find highly compelling. Since man landed on the moon, countless conspiracy theories have surfaced all over the web, some so virulent they spread like a virus, seeping into many areas of the media. Some of these theories, predictably, hold more water than others. Some claim we never went to the moon, this regardless of the proof that has continued to surface over the years. NASA claims to have lost the telemetry from the moon landings also. The motive behind this claim is unclear, yet no matter how unlikely, they continue to claim that it has been missing for decades. Conspiracy theorists often overlook the astonishing contributions which NASA has also made to modern society. Yet some theories actually claim a literal polar opposite of moon landing conspiracies. These not only agree that we did indeed land, walk, and even drive on the moon, but claim we have been back in secret and to explore a rather astonishing thing. According to numerous sources, the most compelling of said claims began on YouTube, with the release of some extraordinary CGI footage of a claimed moon landing and the exploration of a simply gigantic alien spacecraft. Due to the moon being so difficult to reach, and the fact that anything which either crashed, landed, or was possibly even abandoned on the moon, even billions of years ago, would have been preserved in an incredible condition. In April 2007, Videos began appearing on YouTube under the username RetireDAFB, telling the extraordinary story of a supposed Apollo 20, a secret lunar mission that had discovered the existence of intelligent alien life on the moon. Then, on May 23, 2007, Italian UFOologist Luca Scantaburlo managed to secure an interview with an individual who claimed to be the creator of the channel, a man by the name of William Rutledge, who later claimed to be, in fact, himself a retired secret American astronaut, who at the time was living in Rwanda. Rutledge claimed to be the commander of the Apollo 20 crew and to be the owner of the RetireDAFB account. However, the interviewer never met Rutledge in person, as the interview was conducted over Yahoo Messenger. During the interview, however, Rutledge claimed that Apollo 20 was a top-secret mission, launched in mid-August 1976 from Vandenberg Air Force Base near Santa Barbara, California. He also claimed that it was conducted jointly by the United States and the former Soviet Union. He also alleged that other missions were made by American astronaut Leona Snyder, a now-established fictitious persona, and former Soviet cosmonaut Alexei Leonov, the first human to perform a spacewalk. The purported landing site of the mission was near Guyot Crater, a feature near the much larger Del Porte crater. Rutledge said the videos show that he and Leonov discovered the remains of an ancient lunar civilization. He also said they brought back artifacts to Earth for study, including a hibernating female humanoid. It is a story which we found highly compelling. What did the Apollo 10 astronauts experience on their legendary transit far beyond Earth contact as they ventured around the dark side of the Moon? Our often illuminated satellite is, to our perspective here on Earth, seemingly rotating on a fixed axis. Thus, only one side of the Moon has ever been seen from Earth. Additionally, although known as the dark side, it does indeed receive sunlight. In May 1969, Apollo 10 was the fourth manned mission in the United States Apollo program. It was a real-world or real space operational training mission, an in-depth research and preparation rehearsal in planning of the eventual moon landing, successfully testing componentry, procedural drills, along with several contingencies for if something went wrong. The mission was completely successful, doing all short of an actual lunar landing. What we find the most enigmatic part of the mission, however, the audio transcripts of what even the astronauts termed alien music was heard by all aboard as they lost contact with Houston as they went behind the moon.
That NBC even sounds outer spacey, doesn't it? Do you hear that? That whistling sound?
That's what we're talking about, those screams from some alien aspect.
Supporting the theory of an alien transmission are recent discoveries of pulses leaving our planet from several locations, such as Antarctica, Bosnia, Peru, etc. The perplexing purpose for false doors and so forth. Furthermore, due to the sheer mass of rock that would be between the Earth and the far side, if the Moon is receiving any directed transmissions, it's stationing strategically perfect to not only observe us, but avoid detection. The other cause for the music, a personal hypothesis, is that instead of the static we receive upon our television, residually from the Big Bang, outer of space, especially away from our own statically generating planet, this noise could, we believe, indeed sound like an eerie melody. Additionally, due to redshift and the Doppler effect, sound would warp through vast space-time travel, even from our closest neighbor, Proxima Centauri. Yet indeed, if of intelligent and extraterrestrial origin, it would be received as pulse of sound, having moments of silence distorted from interstellar travel. However, who knows what advanced technological composition could be possible? The truth is out there, or maybe it's here already. Our moon. A strange thing, don't you think? Have you ever gazed upon a full moon and wondered how it got there? What strange forces could have possibly built it? There are many moons within our solar system, yet few are as strange as ours. No others are known to ring like a bell when struck. No others possess such luminosity as our moon. In the 1970s, Michael Vassin and Alexander Shcherbakov of what was then the Soviet Academy of Sciences created a thesis that the moon is actually the remnants of a very ancient spaceship created by, as yet, unknown civilization. The article was entitled, "Is the Moon the Creation of Alien Intelligence?" and was published in Sputnik, the Soviet equivalent of Reader's Digest. The suggestion of a hollow moon first appeared in science fiction when H.G. Wells wrote about a hollow moon in his 1901 book, The First Men in the Moon. Michael Vassin and Alexander Shcherbakov's hypothesis is based on the fact that large lunar craters, generally assumed to be formed from massive meteor impacts, are generally too shallow for scars made upon an organic body, and can have flat or even convex bottoms. They propose that small meteors are making cup-shaped depressions in the rocky surface of the moon, while the larger meteors are drilling through a rocky upper layer, hitting an armored hull underneath. Does George Lucas know something we don't? It seems he couldn't resist adding just one crater. The authors referenced earlier speculations by astrophysicist Iosif Shklovsky, who suggested that the Martian moon Phobos was an artificial satellite and hollow. Interestingly, Phobos has been claimed to appear to be hollow by numerous astronomers, who have stated that it appears to have an opening on one side, making it, in a sense, similar in shape to an empty shell. Phobos' orbit is also a complete mystery. Many who have researched it claim that it should have crashed into the surface of Mars many moons ago. Between 1972 and 1977, seismometers installed on our moon by the Apollo missions recorded strange moonquakes. The moon was described to have been ringing like a bell during some of those quakes. The supportive evidence was then brought to popular attention in March 1970 in an article in Popular Science. When Apollo 12 deliberately crashed the ascent stage of its lunar module into the moon's surface, it was claimed that the moon rang like a bell for an hour, leading to arguments that it must be hollow. Several YouTubers, most notably Crow777, have supposedly recorded what is now known as lunar waves. If confirmed to exist, this may prove there is some form of functioning shield or scanning system being seen working on its surface. The fact that the moon is less dense than the Earth is also strong supportive evidence that it is indeed hollow.
conspiracy hosted its second annual Global Initiative Forum in New York. More than $7 billion.
Small group of people tried to smuggle something very, very bad into the US through a small port in western/southwestern Alaska in 2005. This has never been declassified or reported on. Homeland Security and a couple of other government branches/spooky organizations had a couple of players involved in stopping it. I've got a pretty good feeling about what it was. Practically a kid, but I was a fringe part of the efforts to corral and prevent it from being moved any further into the country. But as more time has gone on, I feel like I'm living in an alternate timeline. They didn't tell me much then. I kept my mouth shut, and then I never saw any of the people involved in it ever again. Kind of created this hole of a disconnect in me for the rest of my life. Not a depression, but this bitter anger that there is almost definitely more under the surface of the government and world that I will never see again. And I don't know what the fuck I was even doing out there. I saw the movie Tenet on HBO a couple of nights ago, and now I feel like I'm one of the grunt soldiers in the climax fight who only knew 1% of the ridiculous physics and realities of what the situation was. Knowledge divided. And wondering if it was just military or the government or another government was doing some bullshit experimentation with something we don't understand and we had to lock it down. I mean, I'm not talking HARP or any of that kind of conspiracy content. something completely off the books, an unknown unknown. Knowing that those probably exist is not comfortable, but I guess it's comforting to know that there's maybe still groups of people working as counterweights to things like these. Not really asking a question here, but felt like getting that off of my chest. I mean, the obvious and easy answer is that it was some kind of nuclear device. All I knew was that if we let these people get away and disperse, some enormous shit was going to go down, and it wouldn't have been that grave and serious if it were a bunch of convicts on the run or gunrunners, and you had to have had something real dirty or dangerous if you tried to get into the country through the most distinct back door you could think of. Again, I don't know. I can sit back and speculate now if it was something experimental gone wrong. Bioterror, plain terror, I don't know. I never saw anything physical. Just that we were divided up and sent into basically DEFCON 1 in what is still the middle of nowhere. I just got back from a job I had in Alaska about 2 months ago. I figure it makes a good story, even though it scared the shit out of me at the time. Be me. Working as a radio technician, moving across the country semi-regularly to fill jobs. Get a contract to work at an undermanned radio station in Alaska. The flight is paid for and there are supplies on site. There was a room for lodging, otherwise I'd have to pay for a hotel in the nearby town, which was a few miles away. I already did not like the sound of a radio station in the Alaskan wilderness, miles from any civilization, with less than enough workers. Despite this, I accepted the contract because it paid more than any job I'd ever taken before, and not having to pay for a hotel and for food was a big plus. I had been instructed to take a gun with me on the trip, preferably a rifle that shot a large caliber. I ended up taking my Marlin 336W in 30-30 Winchester, and taking an old shitty 22 I had with me for plinking. For your sake as a reader, and to shorten the story by about 3,000 words, I won't go into boarding the plane, getting the guns registered for travel, or establishing residency in Alaska. We land in Fairbanks. The radio station itself was in the middle of nowhere. They greatly underplayed how isolated this place was. It's southeast of Fairbanks, tucked in between the lower part of Donnelly Dome and the Macomb Plateau. The landscape is very hilly, mountainous, and rough. Most of all though, it's cold as hell. Drive just over 2 hours and 107 miles from Fairbanks to Fort Greely. Charter an AS-350 Airbus helicopter to take me and my luggage to the closest inhabited area to the radio station. Hike with a local guide about 10 miles across tough and snowy terrain to the radio station. Guide stays there for the evening because a storm is setting in. While I got situated there, the guide, our staff, and I got acquainted. There was Kevin, the groundskeeper/janitor, who had grown up nearby in Delta Junction. He was 17 and was going off to college soon. Apparently, this was one reason the place was undermanned. The pay was over minimum wage, and beside from the technicians, all of the jobs were entry level. Kids would work there during the summer and leave when they went to college. There was the guide, whose name I didn't catch, but a few of the others seemed to be familiar with. He was 30-ish and was one of 8 or so local mountaineering/hiking guides. There was also Nathan, a 20-year-old guy saving up money to move to Anchorage with his girlfriend. He was the other radio technician. There was supposed to be another employee, but they stopped showing up about a month prior to my arrival. Put my stuff in the lodging room. Go out to talk with the others and get a bite to eat. Enter the main room. Notice that the guide is gone. Hey, where did the guide go? Nathan looked over to me. Oh, he decided to leave since it was getting late. You just let him go, during a storm. He insisted, said something about having to go home as soon as he could. I'm sure he's fine, he's a guide. He knows these mountains better than the bears do. I wasn't totally okay with this, but I decided Nathan was right and to not make an argument out of it. It bugged me from the beginning that a guide as knowledgeable as he was would just up and leave in a hurry during a storm. The bad news came about a week later. I had been doing my job as I normally would anywhere else, just with heavier clothing and occasional trips outside to restart the heater located in a mini shed near the station. The bad news, as you might guess, was about the guide. He had been found half a mile from the start of the trail leading up to the station. He had been partially eaten. but it was unclear by what or how exactly he died. This spooked us enough that Kevin asked me and Nathan to teach him how to load, fire, and maintain a gun just in case. We spent a few evenings going over basics. I let him carry around my shitty 22 as well. We all started carrying guns with us when we had to go outside and just around the station in general. Nathan had brought his 20 gauge M2 Benelli. It didn't completely ease the tension, but it made us feel safer. We got facts to document, saying that an officer would come up to talk with us about the guy's death. A week passed, then another, repeating this process. It had eventually been 4 weeks and some days since the officer was supposed to be here. We weren't supposed to use the radio equipment for anything besides broadcasting the intended content, but we figured this was important enough to bend the rules. We got in contact with a local police station. Apparently, they could not locate a guide to assist an officer up to the station. They had sent one officer, but he had not reported back. They said that a blizzard was moving in, and he would be here within days. We told them that we knew about the guide before his death over the radio. They instructed us to stay put and wait out the storm. They told us to keep an open channel with them for as long as possible. 2 days pass, and around 2:30 in the morning, we lose contact with the police station. I work until 10 a.m. trying to get in contact with them. No luck. Kevin uses his ancient Nokia brick to call a local town's municipal center. His reception is shit. Every other call results in the call cannot be completed as dialed message. Get in contact with local government workers. Ask them to get in contact with the police station and let them know that we are fine. Also ask them to get into contact with the contracting company. Nathan was ready to jump ship, and to be honest, I was too. For about 3 days, we were stuck like that, not able to broadcast, little contact with the outside world. I remember the day that we got the message, like it was mere hours ago to this day. I had been trying to get some sleep during the storm, since we couldn't do our normal duties. I was shaken awake by Nathan, who told me to get up and come with him. When I finally came to my senses, I saw why he was so worried. The power was off. Not just the heat, the power. I get up and come into the main room where Kevin is sitting, wrapped in 2 heavy blankets and a puffy jacket. He has the 22 on the table and visibly loaded. "What's going on?" I asked. "Power went out a few minutes ago. We heard something outside too. I loaded your rifle for you." My Marlin was sitting on the table, next to a box of 30-30. "What did you hear?" "Scraping. It sounded like something was trying to claw itself inside." "Probably just an animal. I'll go out and get the heater running." I went to the door with my rifle in hand. Open door. Snow falls into the doorway, and the door is slammed back closed by the wind. Fuck. We decided to wait out the storm the best we could, but we had to get warmer. Nathan and Kevin tried to start a fire while I gathered blankets, jackets, or any cloth or tarp I could. I found about 5 blankets in total, as well as a few towels and a tarp. We huddled around the small fire, and about 4 hours later, the power returned. We assumed that this meant that the storm died down a little, so once again, I made my way to the door with my rifle. I opened it, and a bit of snow fell in, but the door wasn't blown shut immediately. I walked out, trudging through multiple feet of snow. By the time I got to the shed, I was out of breath. I swung open the door to find the heater already running. Fuck, all that for nothing. I am halfway back to the station when I feel it. That horrible sensation of being watched. I ran towards the station. As I neared the station, I picked up on a horrible smell. A musky smell, like a dog's hot breath. I bumbled in the door. "What the fuck is that smell?" I asked. I slammed the door shut. "I don't smell anything." I opened the door. "It must be out here then, come smell it." "Dude, close the door, it's The smell drafted into the station and cut off his sentence. Nathan and Kevin began coughing and gagging. I closed the door, thinking it would help. The air felt thick, like physically heavier than air is supposed to be. I began gagging uncontrollably. After about a minute of hell, it finally subsided as the ventilation system filtered it out. It lingered for days and never really went away entirely. We checked back with the people Kevin had called. No luck getting in contact with the contracting company. They did help us establish a connection with the police station though. They said that the officer they sent up was still not back and presumed lost in the storm. We requested help to get out of there. We still had enough food and water for another 2 months. We asked about the possibility of a search and rescue team coming to get us. We only received a one-word response: unlikely. We packed our stuff by the door and got ready to sleep for the night. That night, I woke up with a harsh chill going through my body. I opened my eyes to see that there was snow everywhere. On the floor, on my bed, on me, all over the room. The door to the room was open, which I distinctly remember closing. I got up and ran out into the main room. The front door was wide open, and I noticed that one of our packs was gone. I knew it was Kevin's because his was closest to the door. My pack, which was next to Kevin's, had a large tear down the middle. It was a rough and uneven tear, about the size of a bear's paw. There was some sticky black residue on the bag as well, which smelled like rot and musk combined, in a horrible symphony of odors. I slammed the door shut and turned on the lights. I went to wake up Nathan and Kevin. Nathan woke up instantly when I shook him awake, but Kevin's eyes were frozen shut. We spent the morning putting hot water on his eyes and eventually got them open. He could see for the most part, but he complained of his eyes being freezing cold to the point of pain, despite the rest of his body being warm, even hours after they had been open and warmed up. The next 2 days were pretty uneventful. Eventually, a team consisting of a police officer and 2 local mountaineering specialists came to pick us up. We were hesitant to tell them about the weird things that had happened to us, but eventually, they inquired about our time there and we told them. They said that they get reports like that from people working at the station fairly often. They told us that they had never really had any reason to go up there and that it was just some kids getting spooked by their own shadow, but that this was the worst it had ever been. Even after we left that place, the whole ordeal was not entirely over. We of course had to speak to the police about everything, mostly about the missing people, but they wanted to know everything else as well. We ended up staying there for another month because of the police investigation, and because we had technically breached our contract with the contracting company and the broadcasting company. The contractors dropped all charges, and we and the broadcasting company settled out of court. Even after coming home, some weird things go on that are directly related to this whole thing. If I ever tell the story, whether that be online or in person, my dogs always act up if they are with me. Even when I'm not home, my neighbors, without fail, tell me that my dogs make a ton of noise. This could be a coincidence or them trying to spook me, but I guess anything is a possibility. This is a story from my childhood. We village kids were always hungry for adventure. We'd explored every place nearby, and even those that felt far away. Riding our beat-up bikes to the next village, or tearing down forest paths just to find something new was normal for us. We'd heard rumors that deep in the woods near the highway, there was an old settlement. We'd been there before, but we never really knew the history. As it turns out, back in the time of Peter the Great, a group of old believers had lived there. There was a whole monastery. When soldiers came, the monks set themselves on fire rather than surrender. All that remained were 5 graves, the founders, and a chapel with a holy spring. A regular village cemetery had since been built nearby. So what? We were just going to ignore it for the next 12 years? Of course not. The next day, we set out. Easy. Through the forest, across the railroad tracks, past a field and the highway, and we were in the next village. There was the cemetery. Deeper into the forest was the river, and, beyond it, the old chapel. No bridge, of course. We would have to wade through. It had rained recently, the water was freezing, and we were too lazy to roll up our pants, but we did it anyway. That would have been the end of the story, until that night by the campfire. We were swapping ghost stories when Misha said, "What if we spent the night here?" Everyone was instantly on board. We started making a plan to sneak out and no test once our parents were asleep. We waited about 3 days for dry weather. During that time, we fixed up our bikes so they wouldn't break down, gathered supplies, and picked a night to go. Every day felt like Christmas Eve, full of excitement and nerves. On the night we planned to leave, Sanka's parents stayed up way too late. mission aborted. But 2 days later, can't remember exactly, we finally made it. The ride through the forest was terrifying. The sun had long since set, and the only stars and a pale yellow full moon lit our path. By the time we reached the cemetery, our hearts were pounding out of our chests. We stashed our bikes behind a hill and covered them with branches before crossing the cold river once more. We didn't even notice how quickly we reached the old, crumbling chapel. Its wide open doors made the place look more haunted than holy. Deeper into the woods should have been the monks' graves, but we didn't find anything. We were starting to think that we were lost. Our flashlights were weak, cheap old ones with half-dead batteries, and barely lit the ground in front of us. We felt more afraid with every step. Where were the graves? There's the broken chapel, there's a ravine, there's a path, but nothing more. Then, from somewhere near the river, a scream. I froze. My imagination went wild. Then I felt a hand grab me and a hoarse voice whisper, "Run, now." The grip was iron. I felt like boiling water had been poured over me. I had no choice but to run, just to stay on my feet. I screamed, I resisted, but it didn't matter. Suddenly, I was in a crowd of people dressed in black. There was a low, droning chant, like a church choir turned inside out. Flames erupted all around us, smoke thick in the air. My arm ached from being dragged. I pushed through the crowd, trying to find a way out, but the building was locked. The fire closed in. Smoke stung my eyes, my throat burned. I couldn't breathe. I thought it was the end. That's the last thing I remember. They said some old man found me the next morning and shook me awake. I was delirious for hours. My arm was bandaged. I lay in bed at home for a week. When I finally got out, I found out what happened to the others. They'd all gotten burns. Misha had twisted his ankle. What was that? We asked each other again and again. Our childhood minds added more and more to the mystery. Maybe now we could blame it on an overactive imagination. But the scar on my arm stayed with me. Recently, I went back. The chapel has been restored. There are icons inside, wooden paths laid out, even a bridge over the river and a memorial plaque. I approached the 5 graves. That's when it happened. The scar on my arm began to ache, just like Harry Potter. I thought, this can't be real. This is madness. Then I heard a voice behind me. Anything is possible. You just hide from it with thoughts like that. Respect history and your ancestors, and you will be fine. I turned around. There stood a hunched old man with gray hair. His eyes were kind, sad, just like my grandfather's that night, long ago. Was it him? I crossed myself in front of the chapel and drank from the holy well. The scar disappeared within a week. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you do and you want to hear more, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment down below, as it lets the algorithm know that you like my content and it promotes it to more people. My goal for the channel is to hit 50,000 subscribers, and we're closing in fast, so thank you, and back to the stories. Never served in the military. Went on a creepy-ass hunting trip with a few of them once. 17 years old. My dad, his 2 army friends and my cousin was on leave. Go for a weekend retreat of hunting, fishing, and camping. Set out camp in the middle of a clearing. Virginia wilderness, if anyone cares. Finish setting up camp. Go to the stream and fish, and discuss where to go exploring. Dusk approaches. We have this tradition of going for a nightly woods walk, and try to scare each other with stories and such. Been doing it since we were kids. Not gonna lie, I was a little anxious, but also very serene. If ever go for extended hikes in the wilderness, you know what feeling I'm talking about. One of my dad's friends goes to take a piss, says he'll catch up. We walk for about 10 minutes, then realize we should stop and at least let him catch up. Another 5 minutes goes by. I'm a little worried, but my dad is cool. Trusts the guy completely, and says how since he was a paratrooper, he knows the woods as good as a whorehouse. Few minutes after, he comes jogging out of the bushes, .357 revolver in hand. Says he was pissing, and got the sense he wasn't alone. After he stopped, he waited, and sure enough, heard something in the leaves around him, circling him. Well, what was it? A bear? Mountain lion? Not sure. But if it was the biggest one living in these goddamn hills. Worried it might have followed him, so we head back to camp and don't see or hear anything. But get that, you're in my house now, bitch 5, all the way back. Next morning, we decide to go exploring, with a few guns just in case. See nothing odd, until we get within a half a mile of the trail that we walked last night. Didn't want to get too close, but we were also curious. Get the same being watched feeling again. Then, after a few minutes, find the corpse of some animal. Whatever killed it absolutely fucked it up. The jaw/head was broken, disemboweled, limbs missing and scattered. Keep going north, finding dried blood splatter along the way. At the end of the tree line, after a bit of clearing, is a cave with some trees that at first glance appear to have fallen down around it. Friend's dad is like, "Hey Anon, go in it." I'm surrounded by gruff older military guys, and being the runt, I had to prove myself. Creep towards it. Every step I realize this is probably a mistake, but I can't jump out. Get right in front of the cave. The trees in front appear to have been broken down like camouflage, because all the others around it are fine. Get that natural instinct telling you to just not do something, telling me not to set foot in that cave. Pick up a few rocks and start pelting them in there. Hear and see something kind of big shuffling around back there. Raise my rifle, but I am convinced if I turn to run, it'll bite my ass. Fire a quick round off, followed by the weirdest, deep guttural moan/roar I've ever heard. I've heard all kinds of animals in the forest, and this didn't sound like any of them. If anything, it sounded like a messed up audio recording of a bunch of them, and that raptor from Jurassic Park. Anon, back up to us now. Look behind and see all of them, rifles raised. Grown-ass military men. Guys who have seen combat and probably killed people, are looking pale and scared shitless, which scares the shit out of me. Run back. Feels like I have sand in my legs, and I can't move fast enough, like in a bad dream. We get in a single file, don't say anything, and fast walk back to camp. Each of us head around in the chamber. Something was definitely following us. When you're that scared, your adrenaline gives you superpowers, and you hear, see, and smell things like you wouldn't believe. See a big silhouette about 30 yards away, taking big strides alongside us and then past us. If I hadn't been looking that way, I would have missed it. Heart skips into my throat. Try to tell my cousin, but he is like, "Just keep going forward, forget it," in a panicky voice. Start tossing shit into the trucks in no particular order. One of the guys took it upon himself to stand guard, and just sort of marches around with a rifle. Get everything accounted for. Jump into the cars like clowns at a circus, and go down a 30-mile-per-hour road, doing 60. Get to our favorite diner that we usually go to at the end of the trips. Order lunch, and sit silently. I get up to use the bathroom. See my dad and the friend that dared me to go into the cave, out by the car. Dad is chewing his ass out for doing that, and then says that we don't say shit about this for the rest of the day, and especially not to the wives. Drive home. My cousin falls asleep. I pretend to, but really, listen to them quietly mumble about it, because of course, they were not going to not talk about it. Go around, and say they've always heard rumors about stuff like this, but thought it was bullshit. Never go back to that spot again. Never go camping by myself, ever again. Real shame, because I used to love doing that, but now I'll be damned if I'm not the slightest bit uneasy of going into the woods. I was a first-hand witness for a murder that was completely and entirely covered up and silenced in Barber County, West Virginia. Living in Bellington, small town, August 1993. Working at the Laurel Mountain Inn. Inn is about to close. It's about an hour until my shift ends. 3 guys come in, out-of-towners. Immediately recognize them as not from these parts due to their accents. 2 of them order. The other one hovers around them, not taking a seat. Seems to be on something. Not my job to give a shit. Just focus on cleaning dishes. Another guy walks in, open carrying a pistol. Now, at this point, there were 6 customers inside. An elderly couple, the 3 out-of-towners, and the guy with the pistol. There is 3 workers inside. 2 are on break. I am manning the counter now after having finished cleaning up. Third out-of-towner, the one who didn't sit down, casually strolls into the bathroom. Guy with the pistol unholsters it, shoots the two other guys. I am completely shocked, freeze up. Vividly remember this one detail. His gun did not make a single sound. Holsters it. Casually strolls out, with the two out-of-towners dead in their seat. Immediately snap out of it as soon as he is out of the door. Elderly couple seem to be in a kind of a trance at this point. Call the police. They get there very quickly, and they act really fucking weird around me as I am telling my story. They seem to not believe me. Tell them about the third guy in the bathroom. They don't even go to investigate, but tell me, there is no one in the bathroom. I am really fucking nervous at this point, like they're suspecting me. They take away the bodies. I go to use the bathroom myself and check for the third guy. Nowhere to be found. When I walk out, all of the blood is gone, and the elderly couple have left too, without touching any of their food. I contacted the police again the next day to ask about the situation, because it didn't sit right with me. I was told by the operator of the non-emergency line, rather matter-of-factly, that there were no records of a murder in the Laurel Mountain Inn. I didn't have work the next day, so I decided to call up one of my friends who worked just across the road at the Midtown Motel, and would have absolutely seen anyone enter. I asked him. He said he saw the 3 men enter, and the guy with the pistol, but his account of events is fucking bizarre. He never saw the man with the pistol leave. He also said he could vaguely see the muzzle flash, and thought he heard something loud from the inn. He said he also did not see any police cars pull up, but 2 unmarked black Cadillacs that police officers stepped out of. Every single time I've tried to contact a newspaper with the story, or the police, I was turned down and addressed as a liar. It wasn't like they were merely skeptical. They addressed me flat out as if I was making shit up and they knew it for sure. They would never give any evidence that I was a liar if I tried to press them on it. And in general, everything about this is suspect to me. I could be a schizo, I don't know. But I know as a matter of fact, I saw a guy outright shoot 2 people in the middle of the Laurel Mountain Inn.
the kitchen.
sponsorship programs and has a huge increase in college related teams. Means you got a lot of different moving parts, and you can move them all at once. But you also more at the mercy of events. That is, present
Break it down.
can operate on a much broader scope. So, for example, you can simultaneously be trying to stop a genocide in Kosovo, make peace in the Middle East, pass a budget that gives millions of kids a chance to have after-school programs and make it independent that you can do autograph it, facilitate that. Yeah, when you're a president, you can operate on a much broader scope. So, for example, you can simultaneously be trying to stop a genocide in Kosovo, make peace in the Middle East. Yeah.